So I remember it's like I saw this being that came and swept me. It looked like a teardrop, but the teardrop of it had wings on it. It took me and it flew with me, like not going up instead, but it was going deep under, deep down under. So it's like as I got there, they were like there was like a table. It was like a table for people where they sit when they are eating. So it's like they were count up. There were people that were sitting there. It was said to be the 24 elders. So it's like they were it was in a meeting at the same time. It looked like a court session. So each one of them had a scroll with them. It's like they were opening the scrolls bit by bit, bit by bit. So it's like I went and stood in front of the table and I started to plead and crying and crying. And then it's like there was a being that was in front who was sitting, but when I got there the being was facing the other side. So it's like when I kept on pleading and crying and making some noise, it's like that being turned the chair and it stood up and it said, who is this one who's making noise? Can't he see that we're in a serious meeting whereby we have to come with the judgment by the end of the day? So it's like I kept on pleading and crying. And then that being asked, why are you pleading and why are you making noise? So then I said, I'm pleading on behalf of mysteries and revelations or for the Revelator. And it said, you are not worthy to be pleading for the Revelator because you haven't done anything to stand here, so that you are not fit to be pleading for the Revelator. What have you done? What shows that you belong to mysteries and revelations, and you belong that you are the Revelator's disciple. So then I kept on pleading. I was now just giving reference to what the Revelator has done into my lives and to other disciples' lives. And then they said, that's not good enough. That's not it good enough. So they sent some guards that would come and drag me to throw me outside. I kept on pleading. And then I saw like there were now other disciples from the ascension. They came and assisted me. Now that spirit being said, please go outside. We'll come with the we'll give you a verdict by the end. Let us finish our meeting. So we're now just standing by the door there, crying, and pleading and crying, somewhere groaning, somewhere morning. And then it's like when they were done with the meeting, they said we can now come inside. And then they said the judgment is final. The judgment is final. The Revelator is supposed to be buried, is supposed to be vanished from this earth. And then it's like I saw them, they were now taking like the accounts, the phones, and everything, anything that belonged to the Revelator. They said no one should have access to it because no one is fit to have access to that everything. So it's like they took everything because they said
I'm
everything.
going to explain. Remind me to explain this part that she's explaining when she's saying, then they were now taking accounts. I'm going to explain to you why they were now taking the accounts. Continue.
So they now confiscated everything that belonged to the Revelator and put it in a in a box. So then they said in order, and then we asked and we pleaded, and then the other one who was sitting next to the one who was on the chair is the one who pleaded and said, maybe if you allow them just for this time, and if you allow them to say their grievances and if to say what they want, and then it's like it was said that we should put it into writing. We should put into writing so that when tomorrow anything happens, they'll be having evidence to show that each and every one of us was responsible for writing their plea and for writing their agreements, or saying they are honoring to what they said. So it's like each and every disciple was given a paper. It was like a scroll. We were given a scroll to write, like we're writing the list of the things that we're going to do if the Revelator was to be brought back into this life. And then we started to write, and they put everything, they sealed everything, then they put it again into a sack. And then now they said, it's okay, we understand, we've heard your cries, now we're going to bring back. So the Revelator, as that gentleman was saying, the Revelator was standing like right behind, and the Revelator kept on saying, I always told you, but you guys were ignorant, like you never paid attention to anything that he was saying. So and then they said, now you can go back to them, but they should be able to honor the anointing and to honor you as their mentor. They should not take you as if you are any other ordinary man of God that was sent into their lives. And then they were able, they opened that box that had the accounts and everything, and then they said it's just for temporary. If we are to fail, if we fail the mission, then the Revelator is going to be taken away from us. And then the vision ended.
Right. And stop.